Meet Reed Lance Rosenthal, rancher, #1 best-selling, award-winning author, and unabashedly, unapologetically on the right side of the outstanding issues of our generation. But don't try to fence him in. Sometimes his positions will surprise you, because Reed is definitely his own man, with his own opinions. You might love him, you might hate him, but you won't be able to stop listening. Step over to the right side with Reed.
Howdy, listeners and viewers, coast to coast, the Gulf to the 51st state. I love that. And around the globe. Reed Lance Rosenthal on the Right Side Radio and the Cowboys Take on all your video channels. Remember, subscribe, like, ring-a-ding-ding so you know when the new ones are coming out. This is an emergency broadcast. This is only the third one I've done in 12 years. This is a really big effing deal. And nobody's telling you about it. It's being hidden by the backdrop. Mainstream media is like giving it a nod, but, not telling you what's really going on. Instead, they're telling you it's due to Trump's tariffs and it's going to raise your mortgage rates. It's the usual left-wing psyops nonsense, okay, which is why nobody listens to them anymore, believes them, or respects them. But that's besides the point. There's not going to be any rant story. There's not going to be any founder's quote. I want to get this out. This is not the show that I promised to bring you in the tariff show a couple days ago. If you haven't seen it, see it, because it's foundation for what I'm going to be bringing you over the weekend, which is the left wing. Forget the Democrats. This is communist stuff. What the left wing is really trying to do by derailing Trump's agenda and plan. The only guy in 100 years who's had the gumption to try and fix what's wrong. And if it doesn't get fixed, we're done. It's that easy. All right. Here's what's going on. Gold should go down at the beginnings of a stock market decline. Gold should go down when interest rates are going up. Gold should go down when it's in quote-unquote overbought territory by the technical analysts' charts. There's a whole bunch of headwinds on gold, and gold should go down when the dollar is rising or fairly stable. But gold is not going down. Gold is achieving new highs virtually every second or third day. Gold right now is approximately $3,250 per ounce. That's right. That's the June forward contract. $3,250 per ounce. And on today's spot market, somewhere around $3,230 an ounce. Gold is up. I believe this is the 15th or 16th new record high in 12 months. It is up almost 10% just this month. 10%. I mean, that's a big move for gold in a year. Over the last 30 plus or minus years, gold has gone up an average of 8 to 9%, which, by the way, has beat the stock market over the same 30-year period. And it's now up close to 48% over a little bit more than a year and 3 months, give or take. Gold is screaming a warning. Screaming a warning. Listen to it. Let me tell you what the warning is. So, the foundation of the United States financial system, and for that matter, the financial system of the entire planet, is the United States bond market, which is comprised primarily of treasuries. And treasuries are what the government issues to finance its fraud, waste, and abuse, I guess. But the bond market is falling apart. It's having a meltdown. Rates, which should be going down when economic activity is declining, and it is, rather precipitously, and which should be going down when inflation is decreasing, which it is, rather precipitously. In fact, the latest readings this week was 0.1, that's 0.1, 0.1%, which is the lowest, I think, in at least 4 years, 2022, give or take. But despite all this, interest rates, long-term interest rates, the long-term bonds, 30-year bonds and 10-year bonds, are going up. They're not just going up, they're spiking up. up 10%, give or take, just in the last week. In fact, the large part of that just in the last few days. The bond market is screaming, which is why gold is screaming a warning. And what's going on in the bond market is, oh yeah, I mean, the left wing blames it on the tariffs. I brought you that story 2 days ago. Listen to it. The tariffs are exactly what needs to be done and what's been done in the United States of America since the year after the Constitution was signed. This is all nonsense, okay? But what's happening is the bond market is spiking upwards because people will not buy United States treasuries. Foreign governments aren't buying them. Thank you, Obama and crew, for the freezing of Russian assets, which was a purposeful undermining of the United States dollar. We'll talk about that in the next show in the next few days. The Democrats, the quote-unquote Democrats, the Communist True Plan. And they're spiking because Janet Yellen intentionally, I brought you this story before, while she was the Treasury Secretary under cadaver Obama third term, bought short-term bonds, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, okay, rather than long-term bonds, the short-term bonds being at 2 or 3%, the long-term bonds being at virtually 0%. Remember what interest rates were before the Fed started raising them? So instead of the United States being financed out 10 to 30 years at, 0 to 0.5%, we're financed out 1 to 6 months at interest rates ranging from 2.5 to 3.5 that are now spiking. You heard about the trillion and a half in interest payments that everybody's expecting? Try 2.5 trillion. It's a debt cycle, or a death cycle, however you like to arrange the words. The end result is the same. And the bond market knows it. So people who want to buy treasuries are asking for much higher rates in order to take on the risk of the United States treasuries, because the dollar is sinking. The Dixie, it's called. That's the index of the dollar against all other world currencies. It's sinking. It's down to 100 from 110, and it actually broke 99 here this morning and then climbed kind of up a little bit again. So the dollar is, shall we say, unstable, and the dollar is becoming less trusted. When gold goes up, folks, okay, which is the only other tier 1 financial asset in the whole world, according to the International Monetary Fund and blah, 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 the two tier 1 financial assets are United States Treasury bonds and gold. Bonds are in upheaval. Gold is shooting upwards. It's screaming at you. There's a message here. Listen to it. Do some research. This is your financial future. It could be more than that, actually. And if you don't think that all of this is kind of engineered, shall we say, then I'll point you to the fact that the head of the EU, that little commie globalist group over there, has announced that as of October, they will definitely have a CBDC, which everybody will have to be part of. That's right, a digital currency. The only way you implement a new system, which is what a digital currency would be, is if you destroy the old system. Otherwise, people aren't going to switch, are they? Think about it. So here we are, and this is compounded by greed and fear. Those are the two emotions which drive investors and speculators. Greed and fear, period. Those are the two emotions. And your greedy Wall Street hedge funds decided that interest rates were going to come down. They believe their own BS. Well, interest rates are going up. When interest rates go up, the value of a bond instrument goes down. Because if you're locked in at a lower interest rate on your bond instrument, obviously nobody wants to buy it. They want to buy the higher rate instrument. So these hedge funds, who have hundreds of billions of dollars in futures contracts and other derivatives, shall we say, invested in what they thought the bond market was going to do are caught with their pants down. They have their butt in a sling, shall we say. And it's compounded 1,000x because they have leveraged all their hundreds of billions of investments, malinvestments, with 90% debt. And that 90% debt is primarily from the big CFI banks. Oh, aren't we just a happy community of elites, aren't we? But the CFI banks are now calling the margins. In other words, they're telling these bond funds, you are losing your butts out there. Your play was bad. Everything is going in reverse of what you thought, i.e. the bond market is melting down, rates are shooting higher, it's unstable, the dollar is sinking, etc. And we are not lending you the money to bail you guys out. And the Fed last Wednesday basically said, and we're not lending anybody the money to bail you out if you are involved in this hocus pocus nonsense. So liquidity, that is the availability of money, the flow of money between institutions, investors, speculators, consumers, banks, okay, is drying up. It's contracting, which creates a liquidity crisis, which does what? It exacerbates exactly what's going on in the bond market. Obviously, you can't go out and buy United States Treasury, even if you like the interest rate and don't want to hire one, if you can't get the money to buy it. And you couple that with foreign countries saying, this looks pretty squirrely, 37 trillion in debt, thank you, Obama and Biden and Bush. And we see the dollar going down. We see interest rates going up in the face of pressures which should be driving them down. We see gold screaming a warning. And we're not so interested in the United States treasuries anymore. We think we'll sell the treasuries that we have, in fact, and we'll use the dollars that we get from selling those treasuries to buy, that's right, gold. This is one big mess in the making. And it's coming down right now as I talk to you. You'll have to excuse the fact that there was no rant story, there was no founder's quote. This is an emergency broadcast because I love you guys. And you need to know what's going on. You need to do some more research. All sorts of great videos posted on the website and articles. It'll fill you in on details here. I'm trying to give you the broad sketch. I'm Paul Revere, okay? The British are coming, or should I say the bond collapse is coming. And if it comes, it's going to be really, really, really ugly. So let's hope it doesn't come. But in the meantime, the wave is forming out there in the sea of finance. And you need to be aware and you need to get informed and you need to take steps to protect yourself. And if those steps prove, shall we say, you didn't have to do them because the wave doesn't crash on the shore, terrific. You know what to do. You have them in place, and the next time this happens, there'll be another time if it doesn't crater this time. You'll know what to do, and you can get it done. So, over the weekend, I'm bringing you the show of what the Democrats, the communists, really are trying to do by undermining all of Trump's stuff. And it's not what you think, okay? It's not even ideology, actually. Wait till you hear the stuff I have to tell you. But the biggest thing is this emergency broadcast is to alert you of an impending catastrophe in the bond market of the United States Treasury market, which will affect the entire financial structure of the world, never mind melt down the financial structure in the United States. And I mean melt down, not like a little slap on the cheek. I'm talking about the toe of a cowboy boot planted way, way up your behind. You won't like it at all. So get informed, do a little research, watch the videos on the website, and read the articles, and that'll lead you to other places. You can do your own research. And folks, do not disregard this emergency warning, okay? As you can tell, I didn't get dressed up for you. I got a ranch to run. We're trying to get water going, and there's not a lot of water this year, and I am busy, 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 busy. And I took the time off to do this quick show for you to send up the red flags. So please, heed them. Listen to the screams of gold and listen to the moans of the bond market. This is Reed Lance Rosenthal on the Right Side Radio and the Cowboys Take. You guys keep the wind at your back. I'll talk to you in the next few days on the Promise Show on the skullduggery of the left.
Please remember, if you've missed any shows, just click on Show Archive and you'll find all of his shows. We look forward to seeing you here again next week for another episode of Reed Lance Rosenthal on the Right Side.